Good evening. Welcome to our November 12th, 2018 Temple ISD School Board meeting. Our first item of business is to declare a quorum, which we have. Our second item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge allegiance to the Texas. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Item 3 is the public forum, and we do have one person signed up to speak. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Rayford Brown, if you come up to the podium, please. You'll be the first person to ever use this. So, yeah.
Rayford Brown, 3702 Jaguar Temple. And I'd like to express my gratitude to all the people who have come up on this Veterans Day and before to thank me for my service in the military. The one thing I would do as a veteran, I know many others feel the same way, is I ask you to pause for just a moment and think, have I made this worth his sacrifice? Have I sacrificed the time to learn the Constitution and to teach it to our children? Have I taken the time to learn the issues of the day and to be an educated voter? And have I taken advantage of the opportunity to vote in every election that I can? I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Before we start off, I just want to welcome everybody here tonight. It's an historic occasion. It's our first meeting in our new administration building. This building, which has been a long time in coming, provides our parents with one centralized location for administrative support. So instead of going to different buildings around the district, you can now come here now. If you have issues and you need support with our staff, it's one stop. Also, something we've been sorely lacking is training space for our staff for professional development. We now have several multi-purpose rooms, conference rooms, so we have plenty of space now for adequate staff training and also for the community, for our parents in the community, spaces to use if necessary. And also, lastly, it helps us honor our history. For a long time, a lot of our history was packed away in file cabinets and closets of the rich history over the 100+ years of Temple ISD. And now we're able to honor it. We have display cases here on the second floor, which a lot of our historical items will be placed. And also, too, here, it's a start in our boardroom building. You can look around. We have photographs from Central High, from Dunbar High School, and I guess the new high school, Temple High School, built in 1965, recognizing the rich, important history of our district through photographs. And this is just a start. We plan to do more throughout the building, but we just wanted to start here in the boardroom, and hopefully this will always remind us where we have come from, and we now know where we're going in the future. Tonight, also want to recognize a lot of, this building wouldn't be possible without the important partners that we worked with, and also with the folks within the school district. And I really want to thank the current school board members and our past school board members here. Would our past school board members please stand in the audience? Also want to recognize Dr. Robin Battershell, who under her leadership, we are where we are today. So thank you, Robin, and thank you for being here tonight. And other Dr. Battershell too, Brian Battershell. Also want to thank State Representative Hugh Shine for coming tonight. Hugh, thank you for all your support and your help. One of our important partners is the City of Temple, so Mayor Davis and others, if y'all could please stand from the city. Thank you. The reinvestment zone was crucial for this building being funded. If you're from the reinvestment zone, could you please stand? Somebody here. Thank you. Temple Economic Development Corporation, also crucial for this, and also a partner here in the Santa Fe Plaza. So if you could please stand, Adrian. Thank you. And the Temple Chamber of Commerce. And that was also, there's another important partner we have. So if you're from the Temple Chamber, which I'm a board member too, and then Rod Henry's here, and then Michelle. So again, we're stressing partnerships. It's taken us a long road to get here. I think Temple is probably the strongest place it's ever been in the history of our community. And this building, this plaza, the whole reworking all the way down to MLK is a testament to that. So just want to thank everybody for their help in getting this building constructed and moving us forward. And now we will turn to the superintendent's recognitions.
Come up here.
Yes.
As Dan said, we have a lot of firsts. And this will be the first time I think we virtually beam somebody into a board, there she is, into a board meeting to recognize them as well. Harry, would you please come up? And I'll tell you what, I'll stand on this side.
Harry Adams has been making it happen in Central Texas since 1982. Joined by his daughter Lacey Adams in 2007, this dynamic duo has molded Johnson Brothers Ford Lincoln into a premier business and community partner. The impact they have had on the Temple community reaches far beyond the boundaries of their dealership. Harry and Lacey are strong proponents and vocal advocates of Temple ISD. What makes them truly unique is that they put their support into action time and time again. From partnering with our career and technical education programs to provide a practicum for our automotive students, to donating vehicles for attendance incentives, to their contribution to the overall I-35 corridor, Harry and Lacey Adams continue to go above and beyond to support Temple schools. It is clear that the Johnson Brothers motto is central to the mission as they constantly are seeking opportunities to make a difference throughout the Temple community. Harry and Lacey, on behalf of Temple ISD and the Board of Trustees, we thank you for making it happen for the students, staff, and community.
Thank you.
I have Lacey's right here.
Right. Can she see it? Yeah.
I think she
You
can
have to
see
show
it.
the phone. This one's Lacey's.
Yes, that one's for you.
Okay.
Very cool.
It worked.
It did.
We're going to get a picture up here with that. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank y'all.
You bet. Harry would like to say a few words.
I don't know which is more exciting, the award for the partnership or just being in this facility. This is truly amazing, and this is a dream come true for a lot of folks, the board, administration, for the school district, and for just folks like me that knew this was coming, and it's just outstanding that it's just a testament of what's going on in our community and how partnerships work. and we're just so excited. We're very grateful for this. I speak for Lacey, and Lacey is an alum of the Temple School District from beginning to end, and I promise you she is proud as she can be to be a part of what we have here, and she's proud that she went through the school system here. Thank you guys very much.
Lacey, thank you. And now, could I have Mary Beth Brown and Dr. Kelly Madden come forward? Nominated by her peers, Mary Beth Brown was selected as a Project Lead the Way Outstanding Teacher last month and was presented her award at the National Project Lead the Way Summit in San Antonio. PLTW recognized Mary Beth in front of hundreds of attendees, including teachers from across the United States. PLTW outstanding teachers are selected through a competitive nomination and selection process for their focus on empowering students to thrive in this evolving world. Nominees must demonstrate a strong record of work that aligns with the PLTW strategic goals. As a 2018-19 PLTW Outstanding Teacher, Mary Beth is eligible to be named a PLTW National Teacher of the Year. The National Teacher will be announced in the coming weeks and recognized at the Project Lead the Way Summit in Indianapolis in February. On behalf of Temple ISD, congratulations to you, Mary Beth. Thank you. And Dr. Kelly Madden received the highest honor given to PLTW educational leaders, PLTW Outstanding Educational Leader, at the National Conference in San Antonio last month. PLTW Outstanding Educational Leaders are selected through a competitive nomination and selection process for their focus on empowering students to thrive in this evolving world. Through the PLTW Launch Program, Kennedy Powell Elementary engages students in hands-on, interdisciplinary STEM learning that taps into their exploratory nature and fosters their natural curiosity. Studies show that students decide as early as elementary school whether they like and think they are good at math and science. Project Lead the Way launch activities, such as designing a car safety belt or building digital animations based on their own short stories, help students engage in critical and creative thinking, build teamwork skills, and develop a passion for and a confidence in STEM subjects. As a 2018-19 PLTW Outstanding Educational Leader, Dr. Madden is eligible to be named as the National Outstanding Leader for PLTW, which will also be announced in the coming weeks and recognized in February. On behalf of Temple ISD, congratulations and thank you, Dr. Madden.
I just also want to say, lastly, but not least, the incredible hard work of our Temple ISD staff and teachers helped get us where we are here tonight for this building. It's this incredible energy and dedication they have to the job. So again, the buildings, the renovations of our district, this building is possible because of their hard work, and just want to say thank you for that. Right now, we're having the rest of our board meeting, but if you would like, you don't have to stay for the rest of it. And we're actually having tours outside. Donna Ward and Ken Wolf will be leading tours right outside of the room here. So if you'd like to go and see a little bit of the building, it's very fine. Yeah.
But from an employee, we want to thank you for your support to our school district just as well. Because if it wasn't without your leadership and your guidance and your support, this district would not be where it is. So we truly appreciate it.
Thank you. We've had good boards.
So sorry.
Well, not really. Yeah.
I'm having a hard time believing how many people are actually leaving right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown's leaving.
Thank you for your service.
Renata, thanks for staying.
Yeah.
Not everybody,
Well,
unless they're on the payroll. They're
yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. We'll get on with the rest of the meeting now. Item 5 is executive hires. I don't believe there's any items at this time. Item 6 is the board president's report. Future items to discussion. Thank Dr. Ott. Oh, future items discussion. Is there any items that the board members wish to have placed on a future board agenda? All right, thanks. And important dates with Dr. Ott.
Okay, I'll just review a couple important dates and draw your attention to the sheet in your packet. Starting with November 13th, tomorrow we have our middle school advanced academics parent night. We certainly welcome you to attend. It's actually going to be up here in Flex Conference Room 3, right down the hall from the boardroom. The 14th, the following day, will be our first ever Temple High School Maker Fair, and that will be at the Temple High School Library between 1:30 and 5:30. Very excited about that. A lot of the students are very excited about the Maker Fair. This is something they've been planning for, I guess, over a year now. So if you can make it, that would be great. November 28th will be our policy committee, and that will also be here in the admin building. And the 29th, just as a reminder, after the facilities committee meeting, we will have a special board meeting right after that. So if you're on the facilities committee, you'll just stay, and those of you that can make it afterwards, it'll be short, and we'll only have one or maybe two items on that, and that'll allow us to get things moving along before the Christmas break. That's really the purpose. And one thing that we started doing last month is you have an additional sheet that has all the fine arts events for November and December that you are more than welcome to attend. As you know, 'tis the season, so there are a lot of performances and different concerts and so forth that you can show up, enjoy, support our students, bring your family, and just have a great time. That's all I have.
Dr. Ott, I have a question about the November 13th meeting.
November 13th, yes.
Is that the meeting where mostly eighth grade parents are coming, thinking about schedules for their children in high school? Is that?
I'm glad
No?
Renata Rogers is here. Renata?
It's a general information for any parents and students 6 through 8.
Thank you.
General information for students, for parents of students grades 6 through 8. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ott. Item number 7 is the consent items up for consideration for approval is agenda items 7A through H, 1 through 2. What is the board's pleasure to hear these as a whole or pulling the items out?
Make a motion that we look at them as a whole.
Okay. Motion made by
Second.
Mr. Gaines. And second by Mrs. Davis. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Like sign. Ayes have it. The motion passed. Item 8, action items. A, Human Resources, Mr. Palmer. Consideration for approval of 2018-2019 personnel.
Looking forward to using the microphone, but I guess I have to go here.
There's one over there.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Posey, Dr. Odd, members of the board, actually, there's only one individual at this time. It's one of our CTE teachers to replace one that left earlier, Ms. Wilder, so I submit her name to you as far as approval for our new, it's actually CMA teacher.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Palmer? This does require a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Gaines. Seconded by Dr. Sanhi. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Like sign, the motion passed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would add just one quick thing, just for the board's information, and that is Wednesday, I'll be presenting our retention plan once again at the AIE conference, which is in San Antonio. So they asked that, they saw it at our TASPA conference and asked that it be presented one more time. So just to let you know that that kind of keeps rolling and we keep trying to improve that, that particular I guess I'm not even sure the name of it right now, but the proposal that we've been doing. So it is making a difference, and we hope to see even better next year. So thank you, guys.
Very good. Thank you. Item B, curriculum instruction. Lisa Adams.
Good evening, Mr. Posey, Dr. Ott, Board of Trustees. I'm here to provide you the list of possible textbook committee members. This year we'll be adopting instructional resources in grades K through 8 for English language arts. And so what you'll see there is a list of the proposed members. There is a member from each campus so that all campuses are representative, as well as special programs such as ESL bilingual instructional technology, just to provide that support as well. And so this is an action item.
All right. Any questions? This item does require a motion.
I move to approve the textbook committee.
Motion by Mrs. Gowan, seconded by Ms. Suarez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, 8C, finance facilities, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Posey. Thank you, Board. If you recall, last month, you all received a thorough presentation from representatives for the city and the reinvestment zone about proposed improvements to 31st Street near Temple High School. These improvements will enhance traffic flow and improve safety for students, staff, and visitors to Temple High. The total cost to Temple ISD for participation in this project is $1.25 million. And in order for the district to participate, the board must first approve the resolution that is in your packet tonight. If approved, the administration will then prepare an interlocal agreement in consultation with our attorneys and with the city of Temple. That agreement would be presented to you all for consideration at a future meeting, and also at that time, if approved, the administration will prepare a budget amendment to cover that cost of participation. So in your packet, you'll see that that resolution. Again, this is the first step toward approving participation in this very important project. Do you all have any questions or any comments about that I could answer?
Any questions?
I move that we approve the attached resolution to authorize the administration to prepare the interlocal agreement with the City of Temple to allow Temple ISD to participate in the 31st Street Joint Improvement Project.
Motion by Ms. Suarez. There's seconded by Mr. Gaines.
I'll need to abstain.
And abstention by Ms. Gowan. Please, as noted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign. The motion passes
Okay.
with
Thank you
abstention
all.
by Ms. Gowan. Thank you.
Thank you.
And item 2, consideration for approval and acceptance of the annual financial audit report for 2017-2018.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Ott. It's my privilege tonight to introduce Dane Legg with Lott Vernon and Company. Dane and his team have spent many hours and many weeks here in the district, not only reviewing financial information, reviewing hiring information, reviewing grant information, special ed records, et cetera. So it's not all about the financial information. It truly is a district-wide audit. And so tonight, Dane is here and he will present the report for you.
This is your fiscal year 2018 audit report for Temple ISD. I think y'all have it on your screens. I do have it up here. I don't think my pointer works very well on the TV, so I will try to. Does it work good on there, or point up there? But they can't see it over there? Okay. You can split the audit into two pieces. The first piece is the financial statement presentation piece. Our opinion as it relates to that is unmodified or clean, which means the financial statements you're looking at there are in conformance with generally accepted accounting principles. Real quickly, let's look at some variation analysis on the financials starting on page 16. Or actually starting on page 18. This is your Exhibit C1, your balance sheet for the governmental funds at large. You see the format there. General fund is the first column, capital projects is the second, all other funds is in the third column, and the total column is on the right. Looking at total assets about a third the way down the page, we've got total assets about $95.4 million for this fiscal year. That is up $6.6 million or 7% from the previous year. The majority of that is cash and investments. Cash and investments is up about $6.2 million over last year. With all the ongoing capital projects you have, plus the bond issue that you have for capital projects in this fiscal year, you've got a lot of unspent funds for capital projects, which contributed to that increase in cash and investments. Liabilities, about halfway down the page, $14.8 million, is also up about $2.8 million over last year. $900,000 of that is a network payable that was booked close to fiscal year end, and then the rest of it is construction payables. Construction payables related to the capital projects are up about $1.6 million over last year. Assets being larger than liabilities gives you a total fund balance at the bottom of the page. Second number from the bottom, far right-hand column, $79.4 million, which is $3.7 million or 5% larger than last year. Looking at the general fund individually, as it relates to the unassigned or unrestricted fund balance, which is the third item from the bottom in the first column, a common way to measure that is your operating expenditures. TEA defines an optimal unrestricted fund balance as 2 months worth of operating expenditures. That $17 million represents 2.4 months worth of operating expenditures for the district, so it's more than optimal for this fiscal year. Any questions on the balance sheet? If you flip to page 21, we'll look at revenues and expenses. Same format on this one, far right-hand column. Total revenue for this fiscal year, $121.3 million, which is up $16.2 million or 15% over last year. The biggest contributors to this is property tax and tax increment payments, which was $1.7 million larger than last year. The $10 million that came from City of Temple, and your Title I federal money is up over $700,000 for this fiscal year. Total expenditures about halfway down the page. Your next subtotal, a little bit further, $154.4 million for this fiscal year, which is up $27 million or 21% over last year. Biggest items here, capital outlay, of course, at $44.2 million, is up over $20 million up from last fiscal year. The items are right above that, your debt service, as you have issued more debt in the past few years, Your debt payments have also increased over last year by $2 million. And then just as a departmental at large, your salary and benefits are up $2.1 million or 3% over last year. The next section of below that is your other financing. There's a lot of activity there, which is usual when you have a bond issue, both a capital bond issue and a refunding. The refunding pretty much cancels itself out. That net there, 36.8, the major contributor to that is right there in the capital projects area, which is that capital project bond plus the premium that was issued on it. Giving you a total change in fund balance of $3.7 million, which is our 5% increase in fund balance. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, if I could interject too, just as a point of clarification, that would be all funds together,
Yes.
correct? So I think just for the knowledge of the board and for others interested, could you explain the general fund balance and how that responds? I know that's the first column and that's the part, maybe we're going to do that, but I just wanted you to mention that part too.
You mean as it relates to the balance sheet or?
Just the general operating fund balance, and because that's the one that is the most critical to the way we operate for comparison's sake and for knowing 2 to 3 months operating and so forth.
Yeah,
the other includes a lot of other things that are project related and will include some federal and some other programs that are really dedicated to those programs.
Yeah, when y'all set your budgets every fiscal year, the majority of that budget is in that first column, the general fund. That's your operations of the school. So you do have a financial statement, a couple pages down that actually compares what y'all had as the budget to the general fund actual expenditures and revenue. And that's the kind of accounting that most school districts, that's where y'all live at, is fund accounting. And that's the general fund. That's why we spend so much time on the general fund, is because it has all the operations of the school. The other funds are primarily special project funds, capital projects, debt service funds, things of that nature. They are audited separately from the rest of the school district. Any other questions on revenues and expenditures? Last year, when I presented the audit, we talked about a new accounting pronouncement, 75, related to your TRS care. Similar to the pension liability that we had discussed in the previous 2 years to that. If you flip to page 16 real quick, this is your statement of net position. Again, this statement is only used by bond raters, people that, do financial statement ratios as it relates to ratings and so forth. So it is in a full accrual accounting mode. It is not fund accounting, it is full accrual. So with the new pronouncement for 75, you're required to record a liability for the TRS care underfunding. At large, across Texas, TRS care is underfunded by $43.5 billion. So you see there in the liability section, right above your $232 million of total liabilities, that $28.8 million, that is the district's share of that underfunding. Every school district had to record it this year. And as a result of that, if you look at the second number from the bottom, I haven't seen a school district yet that didn't have an unrestricted net position that went negative, and you can see yours went negative by $36 million for this fiscal year. What does this mean? This means the bond raters are going to have to change their ratios. They're going to have to change the way they look at the school districts. When Callan does the first rating, they're going to have to change those rates also, because they live here in this financial statement, and that liability has caused a major hurdle for them to accurately measure each school district. Any questions on that? The other side of the audit is the compliance side. If you flip to page 85, there's a nice summary of that whole section. Item A deals with the internal controls as it relates to the financial statements themselves. It is an unmodified or clean opinion with no material weaknesses. Item B deals with the internal controls as it relates to the federal awards themselves. It is also unmodified or clean opinion with no material weaknesses. Below that, it identifies all the funds that were required to be tested as major programs this year, which includes special ed. And then at the bottom, it designates that Temple ISD is once again a low-risk auditee, which is important in getting further federal money. So overall, a very clean opinion on the compliance side. Any questions on that? You also should have a stapled document, report to the Board of Trustees. As an auditor, I'm required to answer certain questions to y'all as the Board of Trustees. You can see in there, if you read through it, all of those answers are of a positive nature. It deals with things if we had had troubles with your staff or had to consult attorneys, things of that nature. You won't see any of that in there. When you get to page 5, you will see a bunch of audit entries, audit adjustment entries. The majority of these entries are just to create the financial statements at the front, the full accrual financial statements, and also to book the pension liability and that TRS care liability that we just spoke of. And at the back, you have a client representation letter from the district. And that concludes my presentation, unless y'all have questions.
Members, are there any further questions or any questions? Okay. This does require an action item to accept. Approval by Mr. Gaines.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Gowan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign. The ayes have it.
I just want to take a second and thank our finance department, Kent Boyd and Cowan, talking a budget north of 90 million and an audit with no material weaknesses. That really speaks volume of not just their department, but the entire staff, and really holding strong to the idea of being fiscal stewards of taxpayer dollars. So really appreciate the job that everybody does. Thank you.
Item D, Student Services, the School Safety Plan. Mr. Haugeberg.
Good evening. Last month at our board workshop, we gave a thorough rendition of the draft school safety presentation in preparation for tonight's meeting. Since then, Temple ISD has discussed our safety efforts in various settings throughout the county, including at the school council meeting at Fort Hood, where all local area schools had the opportunity to present. When hearing the other school district discussions, one thing, at least to me, that stuck out currently is that our safety plan has more significant student-centered components than the other district communicated plans, a piece that we feel is important as we have developed this plan in order to be effective. As a philosophy and a foundation for school safety, we have guiding principles that we follow. School safety is a district focus where we seek out and work with experts in the field and involve our community in order to create campus cultures that promote safety as part of the fabric of who we are. And not only do we have this focus, but we also prepare and practice our plan throughout the entire school year, not just the first week of school in August. But the key to all our efforts is building relationships and forming those connections, connections between students and teachers, students and administration, and students and students.
As you can see on the slide, these are the main components of our school safety plan. Last time we went through the plan, we concentrated on, for the lack of a better word, the hardware of the plan. Tonight, we're going to emphasize the software and the processes of the plan, particularly how the plan fits in with our community partners. Drills are conducted on regular monthly and semester schedule, from fire drills to lockdowns to severe weather. We train our students and staff in these basic drills, and then if the situation arises, the appropriate protocol is called and to handle the situation. Last month, our fire marshal inspected our buildings and observed our fire drills and offered improvement suggestions. And as always, our SROs are involved in all the drills, particularly the lockdown drills. And we are constantly modifying our procedures to be the most effective and efficient as possible. And not only the campuses, but our administration building staff conduct drills too. In fact, this Thursday, we have a safety procedures and drills for the staff of this building. And after next month's board meeting, we're planning to have a quick run through for the board on how to respond to emergency during the board meeting. Related to drills, our safety plan involves the training of our staff. All campus administrators are certified in NIMS and ICS, which allows us to seamlessly interact with federal and state officials in the event of an emergency. This system is designed for large-scale events, but it can be scaled down for smaller events. In either case, NIMS and ICS creates a common language and support structure that makes all of the entities involved in responding to an emergency coordinated. And with our staff training, we want to highlight our particular partnerships with our county agencies and the Region 12 Service Center. And this year, particularly, mental health is a subject of numerous trainings and workshops in the district. In fact, tomorrow, Region 12 will be putting on a workshop for our middle school counselors, a mental health detection workshop, so that'll happen tomorrow. Mental health first aid, which was brought up at the last month's workshop. That'll be coordinated through the Service Center also for all the counselors, and we have that scheduled for June. The Central Counties Services, which is the old MHMR, is also developing a mental health first aid training, and we're working with them, and we're in the process of scheduling and that training in the near future and opening that to all our staff. Next, we have our SROs. As I said before, our campuses and our students love our SROs, and the relationship they have with our students is vital to a safe operation of our campuses. All of our SROs are Temple Police Department officers and specifically trained in school-based law enforcement. We have one supervisor. I don't know if hit the little red, and there's Sergeant Bennett back there. And 7 campus officers, one individually assigned to the high school and to the middle schools, and then the 3 remaining officers cover the elementary schools. And again, we are fortunate to have the relationship we do with the Temple Police Department and for their positive impact and connections they make with our students and staff. So thank you again, Officer Bennett, or Sergeant Bennett. As we talked before, the building security aspects we have at our campuses include single point entry to locked front doors and vestibules to cameras and fencing. And we also have a very conscious effort in regards to security in our building renovation and new facilities design process. Last fall, Dr. Riley and I presented to you the classroom management structure that includes CHAMPS, restorative practices, and trust-based relational intervention. The key to these efforts is the focus on the importance of building relationships with students. And as Dr. Ott says, when students care for something, or care for someone, they take care of it and protect it. And the three of those things that we want our students to care about is our schools and their teachers, as well as their fellow classmates. And lastly, the newest component of our district safety plan is the threat assessment model. This model was released in July by the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security in response to the recent events and events over the last several years throughout our nation regarding school violence. Chief Mitchell shared this model with us, and in conjunction with our district monthly safety and security committee meetings, we're in the process of developing and implementing this model. In short, the threat assessment model is the framework whose goal is to identify students of concern, assess their risk for engaging in violence or other harmful activities, and identify intervention strategies to manage that risk and be able to timely and effectively meet the needs of our students. This model recognizes a wide range of behaviors, the vast majority of which will be non-threatening and non-violent, but may still require interventions. Our goal is to be able to identify students in distress before their behavior escalates to a level of eliciting concerns about safety. Okay. Last time we went through in detail each individual step in developing this model, but tonight we wanted to tie all our school safety plan components and this model together. And one of the ways we're going to do this is by walking through an example. So if you would try to picture this. We have a student in a classroom, and they start to exhibit inappropriate behavior. The normal classroom management techniques, which is the behavior or RTI, professional development part of our component, usually works with this student, but this particular day wasn't eliciting the response that was needed for the classroom. So the teacher recognizes, and then that's part of our staff training, that this behavior might be an indicator for a student that might be in crisis. So they contact the administrator, who helps escort the student to the counselor's office. And as they're walking, the student becomes more distressed and tries to enter a classroom, but the door is locked. So that's part of our building security, having locked doors. Then in order to isolate the student, the principal calls a soft lockdown. That's part of our campus drill piece. And then the SRO, hearing the commotion, enters the area, recognizes that this is a student that they have worked with and they know the family and know the prior to this particular incident and is aware of the student's circumstances and situation. The SRO talks to the student, calms the student down, and they end up going to the counselor's office. So there's our school resource officers, part of our plan. The parents are called, and then we go through our mental crisis protocols. And just briefly, when the parent is called and the student is determined that they are in distress and need of assistance, then the parent is given a list of available resources in the community, such as one of the MHMR mobile crisis outreach centers, and also Cedar Crest, which now has the capability of coming to our campus and assessing the students. We're, as a district, aren't involved in assessing, but when the parent does select one of these agencies to come assess their child, we do provide a space for that agency and the student and the parent to meet. After that, we have a agreement with the agency that was selected so that we can exchange information, so we can follow up with the student and make sure that the efforts that the agency is doing, that we help support that. So in conclusion, School safety is a district focus where we seek and work with experts in the field and involve our community in order to create campus cultures and protocols that promote safety. And the key to it all is building relationships and forming those connections with students. Any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Haugeberg? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next, item E, Board Committee Reports, Facilities Committee Update. Mr. Gaines.
Thank you, Mr. Posey. Facilities Committee met on October 25th, 2018. At 4 p.m., it was the last meeting at the old administration office. Discussion was of property. We discussed, the committee discussed potential acquisition of two pieces of property for the future owned by the for the future that's owned by the school district near Cater Elementary School. CTE project update. The second phase of construction of the project will include the renovation of the auto tech and SPED areas. The GMP for the SPED renovation was approved in October. So work for that area is underway. Pricing for the auto tech project is still being analyzed. The team is examining value engineering options to get the costs more in line with the budget. The GMP for this project will be ready for consideration in late November. The fine arts update. Like auto tech, pricing for the fine arts work is still being analyzed. The team is exploring value engineering options to change the scope and get the cost more in line with the budget. There, the GMP will be ready for consideration in January. Scott Elementary updates. At Scott, mechanical and electrical rough end is 75% complete, while framing and drywall work is 80% complete. The existing classroom wings foundation work for the new addition is underway. The project is on schedule. Western Hills update. Phase 1 work of Western Hill is almost complete, and the area will be ready for occupation in December. Other phases will follow. The project is on schedule also. Meredith Dunbar update. Planning discussions are in progress to determine scope and budget in the Meredith Dunbar project. The priority addresses include ADA improvements, HVAC replacement, kitchen renovation, and other cosmetic improvements. Travis Science Academy update. The project is continuing to experience weather delays. Completion was originally scheduled for summer of 2019, but it may be moved back into the fall due to delays. Lamar Middle School update. The Lamar scope of work is $14 million has been finalized, and the project is currently out for bid. Bids are due in November. GMP approval is scheduled for late November. Work will begin in the spring of 2019 and extend to the next school year. Tour of Bonham and Cater was canceled due to most of the members that already been through. Our next scheduled meeting is November the 28th, November 29th, I'm sorry, 2018 at 4 p.m. here at the CAO building. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Gaines, thank you very much. Now for a policy committee update, Mrs. Davis.
The Policy Committee, pardon me, met on October 31st at 4 p.m. The meeting was called to order at 4:03 p.m. Dr. Ott recommended Harry Adams and Lacey Adams for the Friends of Temple ISD Award. The presentation is scheduled for the next regular board meeting on November 12th. Mr. Haugeberg explained the history of the district wellness plans. Every 3 years, the school nutrition department undergoes a federal audit that requires the wellness plan to be reviewed by SHAC and be brought to the board for approval. This will occur in the early spring. The committee reviewed several board policies relating to board training and orientation. These policies will be presented in November as part of the regular board meeting policy review. The meeting adjourned at 4:46 p.m. and our next policy committee meeting will be November 28th at 4 p.m.
All right, Mrs. Davis, thank you very much. board meeting policy review. Haugeberg, up again.
Today we have 5 policies and 1 exhibit that we will review, and they're dealing with board vacancies, training, and board authority. Policy BBC Legal talks about resignations, that a resignation must be in writing and signed and submitted to the board president. It does also note that the board may not refuse to accept a resignation once it's properly submitted. When a seat is vacated, that person still performs the duties of the office until a successor has been duly qualified, and that's defined as being sworn in. So once it's vacated, they still act as a board member until the other successor is sworn in. And a note for single-member districts: the trustee must live in their zone, and if they do not reside in their zone, they still may live in the district but don't reside in their zone, then the seat is considered vacated. Once there is a vacancy on the board, it can be filled by appointment or by special election, and it's just for the unexpired term. So some of you might have experienced get selected for appointed to fill the vacancy, then you have the next election to be elected, but then you might have an election the next time because now it's the terms that are set up. So I know some of you have experienced that, and that's this is where it states that. Also of note, the trustee may not accept employment with the district until the first anniversary of the date that their membership on the board ends. A board member may be removed and it lists 4 things. 1 is incompetency, 1 is official misconduct, 1 is intoxication on or off duty, and the 4th one is conviction of a felony or for misdemeanor official misconduct. Going to BBD Legal, this talks about training. 90 days after you're sworn in, you need to complete Open Meetings Act training, which can be not less than 1 and no more than 2 hours. Public Information Act training, again, that's 90 days after you take office and has to be 2 hours. Annually, the state board recommends that the board superintendent team receive 8 hours of continuing education, and they would recognize that if it occurs. The reporting, which was part of Update 111, which we had talked about, this says that prior to the last regular board meeting before an election is when the training is publicized. It's the hours that you've completed, the hours that you've exceeded the requirement, or the hours that you are deficient in that. And that is based on the anniversary date that of your election or appointment. And so there was some questions. If you were deficit in 1 year, it doesn't carry over to the next that you have to make it up. But then on the flip side, if you had more than was required the first anniversary, then it starts over. So that's how those are calculated. Also, election code training is required and has to be 3 hours. Team building training is also required. We need to participate with the superintendent, which y'all have participated in recently, and that's for 3 hours. In the first year of serving on the board, you need to have 10 hours of continuing education, and that's in addition to those other pieces of Public Information Act and those other things. Subsequent years, you only need 5 hours of continuing education. And every other year after the legislative session, there is one of the requirements is having continuing education on academic performance, and that's 3 hours is required for that. BBD Local reiterates that the publication of your hours is done at the last regular board meeting before an election. BBD Exhibit, you may, as you go through that, recognize some of these words from when they talk about vision and structure, accountability, advocacy, and unity. That's what your training is developed around. So as you read that, you'll recognize a lot of those in the training that you've had and in the training that you will participate in the future. BBE Legal talks about your authority, and that when you're acting in official capacity, you have access, the right to access information, documents, and records that are maintained by the district. And the district shall provide this information to you by the 20th business day after the date that you request it. And if the district doesn't give you this information, that you may bring lawsuit against the district. And I presented to the committee and mentioned it to Dr. Ott that if the lawsuit is filed, that the district must pay these fees from the budget of the superintendent's office. So I just made sure he was aware that that's where it's coming if y'all file suit. It does have responsibilities. Board members must maintain the confidentiality of this information that they receive, and that they can't destroy, remove, alter, or distribute this information to others. One of the interesting things in this policy is that it specifies your protections for acting on a legislative measure. So you're able to, and they're encouraged to, voice your opinion to the legislature about the things that are going on and they're voting on, and it gives you protection for that. You also are protected with state law immunities and federal law immunities. You're not personally liable for acting as the board. For requirements, you must be in the scope of your duties, must be lawful, must not be willfully or criminal misconduct, and you cannot be operating a motor vehicle. So those are the 4 things that if you participate in those 4 things, you are no longer immune. BBE Legal. This talks about board authority, and at the top of that one is probably the most powerful piece of all these policies that we're talking about tonight. It says the board has final authority to determine and interpret the policies that govern the schools. So when there is a local policy, it is you that interprets what you meant and how it's written. It's not the person who thinks differently or another legal counsel. It is you, as you, the board, that determines what it says. And that's very, very powerful. And as that was mentioned before, the board acts as a board and not as an individual member unless the board designates that person to speak for the board. And if you are not acting in your official capacity, you have no greater right to district records than any other member of the public. Any questions?
Any questions of Mr. Haugeberg? Thank you very much. Before we adjourn tonight, something I forgot to mention at the start of the meeting, that this is another historic meeting for us, first time we've ever been broadcast. And so the technology was set up in this room, and the meeting is broadcast. It will first be shown on our district website, and after that point, after it's refined, it will be also shown on Channel 10, the city website at a certain point, city government channel. So in the future, you'll be able to see our meetings just like you can see a city council meeting. Same way. And just want to remind the members that immediately after adjournment, we're taking our group photo. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.